The first mistake that I see people make when improving themselves is going ghost, among many other mistakes that I'll talk about a little bit later, but I feel like nobody is recognizing these mistakes because of how complicated improvement has gotten. There are thousands of videos teaching you how to do what I think are very basic things in the most complicated ways possible. And the only thing that that's doing is just confusing everybody. So I'm gonna try to make this very simple and just give the basics on how to improve. I'm gonna start with some of the common mistakes that I see with self-improvement, and I hate to start with the negative, but I feel like it's very important to. This whole concept of going ghost or just ghosting people is a huge mistake in my opinion from what I've seen on the internet. And everybody is so attracted to this idea, and who wouldn't be? You can leave and then come back a completely different person, but depending on your goal and depending on the things that you want to improve in, this is a huge mistake. Everything is so situational. And when I say everything is situational, here's exactly what I mean by that. If you want to be somebody that's more charismatic, if you want to be more comfortable speaking to other people, you want to improve your conversational skills and your social skills, why would you remove yourself from a situation or isolate yourself from a situation where you can improve those skills every single day? If your biggest goal is to become less awkward and become more charismatic, start talking to your friends, start understanding how those conversations can be built on top of each other. If you're already somebody that's awkward and has no social skills, going ghost and isolating yourself is only going to amplify those issues. You're not going to build confidence from just being in your room exercising. It looks good and it feels good, and I'm not saying that it's not going to help maybe a little bit, but it's definitely not going to help as much as being around other people and learning how to be authentically yourself around people that don't know you or people that don't understand you. That is how you build true confidence, not going ghost, not isolating yourself, but putting yourself in uncomfortable situations that are forcing you to improve your life. The second mistake that I see is overcomplicating things. We want things to be complicated so bad, so eventually and inevitably when something goes wrong, we have something to fall back on. We trick ourselves into not wanting to start something because of how complicated it is, when in reality it's the most simple, basic concepts ever. I can't even tell you guys how many times somebody has come to me and told me that they want to start exercising but it's so complicated. And I have to tell this person that it's never complicated. Exercising is the most easy, simple thing you can possibly do. The only reason you're making it seem so complicated is so that you have something to fall victim to. We want our lack of progress or our lack of action to be validated, when in reality, you don't need that stuff to be validated, you just have to be consistent. And if you're listening to that and you still feel like it's too hard to not make things complicated, just think about the fact that less is always more. And the more that you do, the more that you try to complicate things, the less you will have. And the final mistake that I see is making this entire concept of self-improvement your religion. And I just started a second channel where I talk about this a lot. I guess you can call it a Christian channel. So if you're interested in that, I'll put it in the description. So what exactly does it look like to make self-improvement your religion? When you find yourself worshiping your goals and worshiping self-improvement in general above God, that is when you're making it your religion. And I'm not going to talk about it in too much detail here because that's what my second channel was for. But those are just the three mistakes that I see. Going ghost, knowing that it doesn't apply to your situation, complicating things, and finally obsessing over self-improvement. To make the process of improving yourself as simple as possible, it needs to be separated into three overarching goals, which I'm pretty sure most of you guys have already heard about: the physical win, a mental win, as well as a spiritual win. And if you're not questioning what those three wins look like, then at the very least, you're probably questioning how can I be consistent with that. The reason that you're not consistent with it is because you're not understanding that some of these things are going to be ranked above others. You have to prioritize maybe a spiritual win above a physical win one day, or maybe you have to prioritize a mental win over a physical win. This entire process looks different for everybody. When I said don't overcomplicate the idea of improvement, I mean don't overcomplicate it for you. That doesn't just mean to take somebody else's routine. You have to specifically tailor it for yourself. And that goes for everything. If you're watching this video and you're thinking to yourself, I don't know if I can apply this stuff to my life, then don't. Find a routine that works for you specifically and then tailor that towards your lifestyle. But okay, a physical win, a spiritual win, and a mental win. And I want to start with what I think would be the easiest win, which is just a physical win. And I could really make this a 15-second section and say, just go to the gym. But I did say that I was going to explain the basics, so I will. There are three things that you can do: calisthenics, weightlifting, and cardio. And if you don't have access to a gym, then you can't do weightlifting. You just have to stick with cardio or calisthenics. You're going to want to follow a split, which is simply just what workouts are you going to be doing every single day. For me, I like to do a push-pull leg split, which means I'm doing chest and triceps on one day, then the next day I'm doing back and biceps, then the third day I'm hitting all of my legs, and then I repeat the cycle. And I almost forgot the most important thing. Put a rest day somewhere in that split. And this is exactly why I said that's the easiest win. All you have to do is get a split, stay consistent with it, get the adequate amount of rest, which is 7 to 9 hours every single night. Eat properly, eat in your calorie surplus or calorie deficit, whatever your goal is. Pretty much if you want to bulk up, you're going to be in a calorie surplus. If you want to lose weight, you're going to be in a calorie deficit. And again, I am not a fitness expert. I can only give you the basics, but I would recommend taking some of these terms that I'm saying and putting it into TikTok just to see, a more detailed explanation of it. And the second thing is a spiritual win, which in my opinion is always going to be the most important win you can have, because not only does it trump the other two, but the other two pretty much build on top of this win. Unfortunately, I can't tell you what a spiritual win looks like to you, because if I told you what it looks like, then it wouldn't be a spiritual win for you. I know for some people, a spiritual win looks like being a good Christian, which looks like going to church, looks like reading your Bible every single day, never smoking, never cursing, never having sex, being exactly what a Christian influencer would tell you to be. But I think in my opinion, that is a very unrealistic spiritual win. God is always going to meet you where you're at. So it only makes sense that we meet ourselves where we're at too. Because if not, we're just lying to ourselves, and you can't actually improve that way. I know a while ago for me, praying or talking to God every single day, that was a spiritual win for me. And now today, I feel like I talk to God almost every single minute. But I would have never gotten to that point if I was trying to talk to God every single minute. I had to meet myself where I was at. And then I built on top of that, and then eventually I actually started to see improvement spiritually. But if you try to follow somebody else's routine so strictly, and you try to follow what their spiritual win looks like for yourself, you will never find improvement or success. You need to find a way to find your spiritual win that can be tailored to you as well. Figure out exactly what that spiritual win looks like for you, stay consistent with it, and I guarantee you, you will find spiritual success. I think a mental win is the most confusing in my opinion, because it's multiple things. It can either be challenging yourself or teaching yourself. The simple part about a mental win is just teaching yourself. This looks like journaling, understanding who you are. It looks like reading a book, understanding, about the world, understanding about new concepts and new things that you can learn. It looks like speaking to other people, getting more comfortable, understanding your environment, understanding your friends, understanding the world pretty much. Anything that you can do that by the end of the day you tell yourself, I learned something new about myself, about the world, about a friend, about anything, that's a mental win in my book. But a mental win is also challenging yourself, which is exactly why I said it kind of coexists with the other things. Because if you didn't want to go to the gym one day, and then you told yourself, I don't want to do this, but I'm going to do it anyway. When you look at something that makes you slightly uncomfortable, and you choose to do it anyway, I would consider that a mental win. So try to put those things together. Are you learning something new every single day? And are you putting yourself in a position to be uncomfortable every single day? And yeah, all of this stuff is very basic, but like I said at the beginning of the video, it's not supposed to be complicated. It's supposed to be the simplest stuff. It's just a matter of being consistent with it. So seriously, think to yourself, am I making those mistakes that I mentioned earlier in the video? Am I not being situationally aware? Am I overcomplicating things? Am I making this entire thing my religion? And then think to yourself, am I getting a mental win? Am I getting a physical win? Am I getting a spiritual win every single day? It doesn't have to be complex. Just stick with it and you will see improvement.